You are listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Ashley Case, and with my special co-host, Samantha Enslin, we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact on the industry. Today's guest is Baskar Sundaram. Normally the co-host of this podcast, Scribble Talk, Baskar is Founding Director of Baachu, UK-based marketing development advisory. In his 15-plus year career, Baskar has led and managed over 50 deals across 4 geographies, winning £8 billion. In 2019, Baskar established Baachu Scribble, which is an APMP ATO. So far, 170 professionals from 29 countries have leveraged Scribble to attain APMP certifications. In October 2019, Baskar launched the Scribble Scholarship for aspiring bid and proposal professionals, honoring his mentors Howard Nutt and Tony Birch. Prior to founding Baachu, Baskar served as head of business development at Serco, where he worked for 11 years in varied roles. He is a chartered accountant, chartered manager, and has degrees and professional qualifications in electrical engineering, accounting, coaching, financing, law, and proposal and project management. His major publications include Bid Buddy, a self-improvement journal for bidding professionals, which he published in 2016, Proposal Specialist Guide, Pathway to APMP Foundation Certification, which he published in 2019, and the Sales Specialist Guide, which he published this year in 2020. Beyond proposals and proposal strategy, Baskar is passionate about education, and he educates 220 children in India. He is also an active member and speaker with both BSA and APMP. His awards include APMP 2017 40 Under 40, Entrepreneur of the Year, and Business in the Community. In addition to learning and education, his life priorities include health and relationships. Some of his interests include trucking, Tamil, travel, Buddhism, Asian history, and food. Welcome, Baskar, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Ashley. It's so weird to welcome myself in my own talk. but here I am. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Ashley.
We're going to start how we start with everybody, and we're going to go back to the beginnings and learn about where you were born, where you grew up, and where you went to school.
Yes, Ashley. I was born in a small town called Sulur, which is in the state of Tamil Nadu and the borders of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, if you know South India. That's where I'm from, in the city of Coimbatore. Until the age of 7, I was in a place called Tuticorin, which is a coral coastal village, in close to Sri Lanka on the other side. So I was there. My father was working there. And when my father moved to Middle East when I was 7, I moved into my hometown, Coimbatore. That's where I did my schooling. I did my school in a school called Birch School, which was much more holistic in what they've approached. They used to have a full-on pyramid with golf, with swimming, with basketball, you name it, with a full-on football pitch in 1987, 88, which was very good where I was.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I was always a class leader. Then I went on to become the school leader, passed out from there. Then I went to do electrical engineering in a college called Amrita Institute of Technology, which is now called Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham. It's one of the top 20 colleges in India. So from then, 2003, I passed out. 2002, I passed out. Then I moved to UK to do my master's in Imperial College, London.
Oh, my goodness. So is that master's degree what brought you to the UK?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So your first job, was that in electrical engineering, or what field was that in?
I've never done a job in electrical engineering. I can't even change bulbs at home. So that's how bad I am in electrical engineering. But my first job was as a student. I used to work in KFC. You know KFC? So
yeah.
that was my first job. And I progressed from being just a person who worked on the till to becoming an assistant manager in like 2 years. So I actually thought, being an international student, it was quite hard to get a job in UK. So I thought my lifelong career will be in KFC. So that was my kind of dream job for me when I started. Yeah, but you learn a lot, as you can imagine, when you're working with customers, balancing the numbers, cooking, lot of stuff there. So that's my first job. Yes.
Oh, wow. And then, so from there, what career field did you enter?
After that, I started in a small hedge fund in investment banking. So I was there for like 3 months. Then my offer with Serco, which is the large outsourcing company you might have heard with global presence. I started with Serco in 2005 as a commercial analyst. That's what brought me into proposal field.
Okay. And so I'm sure you've worked on a ton of proposals. We mentioned over 50 efforts. Are there any that stand out to you?
So part of the project, I did the pricing. We won the deal. And, I was pretty happy we were securing it. But then part of the deal, we need to make 200 people redundant. So what that meant was, when I actually sat down, because part of the work in Serco, you see it through, which means you then go and support the operations as well, not just work to the next bit.
Okay.
I actually has to listen or in a consultation of the 200 people whom I made redundant part of the proposal. So for the solution, it was amazing. We won the deal, but when I physically saw the decision that we made to win a bid actually meant that 200 people life changed, impacted.
Right.
And for the next bids onwards, I was very, very cautious, or I was not to push the team to the maximum to understand, is this the only way how we could go for? That was a life lesson for me. Numbers, behind every number, there is a life.
Right.
The second one was, then I moved on to do a pricing lead again for like 4 projects in the similar areas, which means we were bidding for 2 prisons in England, 1 in Scotland, and 1 to take over the entire Australian immigration sector outsourcing project. And we won all 4.
Wow.
At the same time, it was bid at the same time. I led the pricing and we won all 4. Part of that, I had my wedding in between. So I physically flew on the day before. I landed in the afternoon. The evening, I had my dental surgery, removed my wisdom teeth. The next day, I had my wedding. And the morning, and like Shinto, it was Japan, so Shinto wedding. Evening, we had the reception. The next morning, I flew back to do the bid. So it was memorable. Again, it was a success. But looking back now, I regret what I did. So it wasn't success. So again, as a profession, we all talk about work-life balance, right? So at some point, work was happy. It was giving you all the success that you wanted. But looking back, we never had, we never went for a honeymoon. Let's put that way. I was back working.
Oh no.
And the final project, it was interesting because in 2014, I took voluntary redundancy. That was a point where, again, life lesson, where my father was diagnosed with cancer. And then I took voluntary redundancy to spend more time with him. But it took me 6 months. I was on and off. Then suddenly I had a freelance engagement. On the first day I started, it was in Norwich, your place, your mom's place.
Yeah, right.
I started there, and the same evening I had chicken pox.
Oh no.
I was in the hotel, and the doctor said I cannot move anywhere. But at the same time, after 7 months, I have to do that because that's the only job I had. Yeah. So you can imagine with chicken pox, I didn't go to the office as working with them. I spent like 8 days closing the deal. We didn't win the deal, but I can imagine with the pain that you need to go through. When you have a strong will to just do what it needs to, and this chicken pox kind of made me think that's a memorable. I'll never forget that. Which means you itching, you do what it takes. You can't sleep, you can't do anything. You just keep writing. The only time you go out is to grab the food. So all 3 bits kind of show me, like the first one, what understand the impact of what you're writing or your pricing. The second one was, work-life balance success as a compromise. And the third one, as I mentioned, it just tests my will. So I will never forget that. Those 3 bits are completely memorable for various reasons.
You've also trained more than 500 people. Do you have any memorable training efforts?
As you know, when I launched Scribble, we were very new to the market. And the only reason I came in is because of my mentors to take APMP to the wider economies, which wasn't reached because of the traditional channels. So over a period now, we have over 300 solid people, and they trusted me. And this 2020, if it wasn't COVID, I should have been in 12 countries. So that friend face-to-face experience is very different to online training, but that personal touch that you give, and that has taken me to this new friendship, again, meant a lot. And recently, as you know, I did a webinar with the APMP, right? That's called time blocking. So it is and I received personally from 11 emails from people, and I received feedback, 200 testimonials from people.
Wow.
Saying, but the most heartening thing was there was a lady who actually haven't spoken to her dad for 18 years. She reached out to her dad, and now they are together.
That's great.
This sort of things, which kinds of, so many feedback, it's very touching, very useful session beyond what I thought, etc. Kind of meant me like, it's memorable than actually talking about win rates and talking about the impact on the success or something. For me, this is more personal, and I thoroughly enjoy from these three things. One is self-development, other one is Scribble as a community, every single person. And the third one is this recent one with all the feedback, it's really memorable. I've pasted it in my wall.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I listened to that webinar you did for APMP, Baskar, and it made a big impact on me as well. If anybody listening today hasn't seen that, go, if you're an APMP member, log on to the APMP website, and you can watch all of the past webinars on demand, I think, for no cost. And check out Baskar's on time boxing. It's gives you some useful tips on how to structure your day in a more effective way. And he also shares some, personal stuff about his life that I found really moving.
We know a bit about you, through these webinars and being able to chat with you, but can you tell us 3 things that not many people would know about you?
Normally, I think people complain that I post too much and tell everything about everything. So let's see. And the first thing is, I actually acted in both Japanese and French dramas as a student during my university days.
Wow.
So, they both are 2 different languages, because even though I wasn't great in Japanese, I can speak, but French, I had a funny accent. But that meant I was very popular on the drama circles during the student days. So that was one. So number 2 is that I have a little music studio at home. So my hobby is to mix sounds.
Oh, cool.
So for me, and if I listen to music, I just keep going. So that's the second one. And the third one is actually, which might be close to you. It's as you know, I'm a proper foodie. So I have a nickname in my friend circle, which is called Camel, which means I eat as many food for in one meal, then I just don't eat for like 3 days. So I can survive on that level. So I at one point, even during the Himalayas, when I was in the base camp, pretty much the same time last year, I was fighting in the base camp. Where is my chocolate pudding? Only one place in the 3-mile radius. So that's those are the 3 things. One is I've acted in some Japanese dramas and some mixed sounds, and finally I'm a foodie, which but maybe a supplementary one. I do have a hole in my heart. So what that meant was, the Japanese trip was memorable because they said I'm only going to live for 3 years. So that point when I was actually in Himalayas, high up in 5,000 meters, was the day actually I was supposed to die.
Oh my gosh.
I celebrated in style. So at an average, I spend like 11 to 15 hours in the gym. At the maximum, I have done like 21 hours in a week in the gym. So I do morning, evening, afternoon. I just do whatever I can just to see how hard I can push my heart. And I'm still talking to you guys. So and I'm still here. So that's it. Those are I think 3-4 things where you might not know about me.
Oh my goodness. So you've mentioned quite an accomplishment of overcoming, a hole in your heart and celebrating your quote unquote death day, like in the Himalayas. What accomplishments other than that amazing accomplishment are you most proud of?
I think the first thing actually is, just jokes aside, coming from India, being brown, privilege has always been a big thing, right? I mean, like especially when you are in a different country. If I take a minute or two, my father, in his whole school years, in his life until 24, and even went to college, he was the first graduate in his college. He never wear slippers. We didn't have the luxury to even buy slippers. So for him, his entire passion when he went to Middle East was to educate his children. And for me, I took the privilege out. My father was the first college graduate. I was the first one to leave my village to do masters. And that's the reason education is a passion for me. So that privilege is something which I'm really proud of, which is like, from where I started to where I am. Even on the first day of my work at the night, an egg was thrown at me in UK.
Jesus.
So, you know what? It's not simple. It's not simple. And even at the podcast, it's funnily enough, I was looking, I'm the first non-white person to be featured in my own podcast, actually.
I noticed that. I know.
It's so what that meant is it's a battle. So for me, I'm pretty proud about my privilege, where I am to where I started to where I am, and consider to be an expert in different pockets of what I'm doing. Either it could be the market development, which is I'm ranked number 1 as a market developer in my industry, versus in Scribble now many people look into me, and generally as an entrepreneurship getting over. So for me, that's the main thing, and that comes with Baachu, right? Baachu stands for little boy, and that's my nickname. So I branded my own company, and the company is named Baachu Works, which means whatever the little boy works is what the company do. We don't have a big plan of strategy. We just find problems, we fix the problems, and we create product or service out of it, which means there is nothing that's sustainable in the company, which makes it challenging. But that's Baachu, so I'm proud of where it is, what it has done. Other than that, the most important thing is, is people around me. I thoroughly, for me, as you touched, health and relationships are the main thing. And I genuinely care about relationships and the people I have. It could be my family. It could be you and Sam now, who's running the podcast. And then it could be my gym friends. It could be my team. It could be my colleagues in Serco. Everybody has a part on my life. And I'm thoroughly happy that the people around me, I have a solid relationships. So those are 3 things. Number 1 is, privilege, working through that, and Baachu as a company is evolving. And then, the people who are with me, they are my strength, because there is no way I would achieve whatever I'm achieved with whatever I know. So those are the friends, mentors, teams, as you can imagine, those are the 3 things I'm superbly proud of. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Hey, Baskar, one thing you were talking about, being passionate about education. Jump back to something that Ashley brought up in her introduction. She said that you educate 220 children in India. Tell us what that means and how you do that.
I think there is a because I do follow Buddhism even before my wife days. So so there is a Confucius proverb. Sam, that says, if your plan is for 1 year, you plant rice. If your plan is for 10 years, you plant trees. But if your plan is for 100 years, educate children. And so for me, the dream of one person, which is my father, meant like, me and my sister, we are highly educated, So my father's salary was $150 in Middle East, and my tuition fees in Imperial College was $15,000.
Yeah.
Imagine 30 years of a saving you add together, it will still not come out to the number that you want to hit, provided. And so that meant, education was my passion. So if he can bring me up and my sister, I can do more. So, but then, what happened was, in between, the purpose changed from children to other people, which means it's poverty. We tackle poverty, we educate, foster children. There are so many other things that we do, but children in India are still there. We take over schools, we support them with the basic thing, including water and stuff. Sometimes children don't go to school because there is no water, there's no toilets. So those are the things, which means success for me, if I think my personal success is a success for me, I need to connect it to somebody else, because I won't do it if it's just for me. So I just need to connect it to somebody else, and that pushes me to do what I'm doing. And that's what education is, my driving force behind it. So we are we are lacking back by this time in the numbers. We should be like 1,100 in the children number, but we are still 220, actually 260. So we should improve, but that's the passion, Sam. Yeah.
The next question I really had for Baskar has to do with his entrepreneurial journey surrounding Baachu and how the company has evolved over the years with, Baachu Scribble and Baachu Rain.
Yes, actually, as the name says, it's just me initially when we started, and I was doing freelancing, and gradually the project started to become complex. Then I pulled over my previous team from the previous company. Mm-hmm. And then we started to partner with few colleagues in the same mindset. And that's how Baachu was formed. So today, Baachu is kind of trusted advisors to many of the UK outsourcing providers from all the way from strategy. And we build a pipeline for them. Then we kind of become their growth partner. But over the years, there was a lot of experiments, as I told you. And we have two little projects, which is Baachu Rain. Baachu Rain, as it stands for, it's like one day it was raining. And I was building pipeline. So I thought, we will build a pipeline as if it's raining for you. We'll give you so many opportunities. You will feel it's raining inside your home, inside your flat. So Baachu Rain was supposed to be a software we tried to build a specific CRM, like a bit specific CRM, but instead of just making it as a handhold, just an empty shell of CRM like Salesforce or like any other tool, we provide the data. Plus, we insert a project management tool and we have it. But that required us to get a lot of funding and it didn't kick off. So at the moment, Baachu Rain evolved from a software as a service to become a data as a service. We provide data, build pipeline for many companies. So that's Baachu Rain. Then Baachu Scribble happened, as you know, because of Tony Birch and Howard Nutt. So, so I know you'll be asking questions about APMP later on. So just as an overview, I was speaking to Tony. Tony said, we want to take APMP to the wider economies. Maybe you should start an online platform or something, so you could start to take the brand to the wider economies where people can't do it. That's how Scribble evolved. So we tried to create two different systems. Again, we had two failed starts. It didn't work out. Software development again. And we launched Scribble in March 2019 as a very simple solution, and it still works around it. So so we have Rain out of, if you look at Rain, for example, if you look at top 20 large FM companies, we support 14 of them, which means 70% of ours. And if you look at Scribble, for example, within a year, as you gave an intro, we already crossed like 160, 170 people in APMP certification. And we are building this little community who can't afford APMP, but they will be ready for APMP maybe in a year or two time. It's the same story, right? Affordability is key. $400 is big money. But they are doing pathway programs, and we are giving, Scribble as an entry point to many people. That's why the theme behind Scribble is we democratize bidding knowledge, so that people get the same thing that anybody can afford, and they get the same thing and they could come out of it. So as a company, that's how we evolved. But as I touched as an entrepreneur, we have gradually built up an ecosystem without knowing, because we tried to solve too many problems for too many people. And now the plan is just to connect all the stuff that we created into a bigger brand of who we are. So that's how it will evolve from there. So in between, as I mentioned, me as a brand was much more valuable than Baachu as a company. So there was always a challenge between what's more valuable, Baskar or Baachu. So try to balance both the expectations is also something that's always been a problem. But I'm trying to leverage both my kind of expertism with the brand. And so it's a journey, 6-7 years. We actually had the 7th anniversary, April 26th. I didn't post big on that, but we will post it in due time. So it's 7 years old now.
Wow. So one of the things that you kind of promote through Baachu is this idea of a full stack bidder. Can you explain what that means to you?
Yes, I know that. Yes. So I'm as I mentioned, I prefer people who are involved on the proposal life cycle to get involved on the overall contract life cycle. That's what full stack bidder means, which means understand how you identify a market, understand how you build a pipeline, understand bid. Then you contract management, then you operationalize, then you do account management. What that meant is if you understand the overall contract life cycle as a full stack bidder, you'll be much more valuable. And that's what you can aim for leadership, because having proposal management meant you're always part of a proposal life cycle, which means you might be churning a lot of projects. And I always use the terminology as a sausage factory, so I get into trouble all the time. But that's what we do, which means, yes, we are churning lots of proposals, but what value, what improvements did we add from that? So we need to have that test. We need to test our own skill set. It's not for everybody. It's not a cup of tea for everybody, but there will at least be one or two out of 100 people. And for me, it's just to build up the next level of leadership who just going to not just lead a bid, but just going to lead the whole company, through the bid.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the Baachu Pledge 2020, those 40 things that you're encouraging people to do. Can you explain to us why you feel it's important to donate by doing rather than by, giving money, as you implied?
I think, we are living in a world, Ashley, as, the environment is a big thing, right? The decision, we have to give the earth back to our children and our grandchildren or anybody coming up in the same way as our forefathers gave it back to us. Thank God we had coronavirus, the world is correcting itself. But there was an interesting survey that was done in Britain that said 42% of the Britain's carbon emissions are caused by actions of individuals. So what that meant is, you, me, the way we not switch off the laptop, the way we leave the lights on, the way we use the lift, you name it. Every single thing adds up, and that caused impact to the environment. We picked up like 20 different places close to my heart, and we just asked our friends and others to just do, take the small actions, and gradually it just build up to a bigger difference. What that meant is every single thing that you do, which is like, even when I take shower or something, I have a clock 5 minutes. Before I used to sing song and I did take it for like 20 minutes. But now I do it for 5 minutes. And then in a kettle, I won't reboil the water. All these little things meant like gradually we are building. And it also measures the carbon emission savings. So collectively, the plan is just to see how far we could grow. But if you go to Baachu Scribble website, at the very corner, you will find the amount of carbon dioxide that we actually saved. As it stands, we saved like, 350 kilograms of carbon dioxide, and we have like maybe 30 pledges. So, and that's it. So what that meant is people choose little things and we measure their carbon emission and we gradually go from there. So what that meant is, the money that we are giving, right, you are expecting it to be turned around and reach the people. But this meant people can really see the impact, what they are going through, and they get like weekly reports, monthly reports. There's a nudge. It's a little thing. It's part of what we call a social impact that we currently have with Baachu Scribble. Yeah, that's it. Little initiative.
Oh, that's amazing. And what a great idea and a great way to like encourage people to be better and do better, and showing that impact really is a motivator. You mentioned a little bit about democratizing bidding knowledge. Can you expand on that a little bit for us?
Behind Scribble, there is every person has a story. And behind democratizing bidding knowledge meant that there is somebody who we are unlocking, who can get certain things that they can't get it. Right? Same thing for my case, right? If I left my village, I came here and somebody gave me the choice and I'm here. So my remit, it's again the passion behind education. Mm-hmm. So we are taking the content, which is pretty privileged content, and we are slicing and dicing the content, and we have done it, which meant we have over 500 articles and we have 250 hours of content. As you know, we launch workshops, free workshops every week. And now with Scribble Podcast, we are sharing the stories. But for me, I don't know, maybe a course might inspire somebody. Listening to this podcast might inspire somebody. Giving scholarships might inspire somebody. So our vision is very clear. If you go to Baachu Scribble values, number 1, we build confidence. Number 2, we seek purpose. And number 3, we make an impact. Which means we need to be thick-skinned, not to worry about what others are thinking. Mm-hmm. Important thing is, are we building confidence inside people? The seeking purpose is like we are passionate about education, so it's revolved around it, making an impact. Are we touching the hearts and brains of people? That's it. As long as that's been done, we will continue to democratize the bidding knowledge. Yeah.
You mentioned the inspiration behind Baachu Scribble being Howard Nutt and Tony Birch with APMP, when did you join APMP as a member?
I joined APMP as a member, I think 2014, 15, actually, very, very late on in my career. And that's it. So I just joined in 2015 and I presented in the UK conference. So I thought if I'm becoming a member, I think I should do something. That's the very first time I presented in the UK conference, 2015. Mm-hmm. And over a period around 2014, 2015, I had relationship with Howard because Howard was doing BD Institute. And mm-hmm. while I was doing transformation projects, I don't want to do anything finger in the air. I want to rely on something trusted process, trusted systems that I could genuinely measure, progress, do something. Mm-hmm. So partly, Howard mentioned about APMP actually, and I joined APMP and I'm still with APMP, yeah.
Oh, that's great. And so you mentioned right off the bat, you became a presenter. You thought you needed to contribute and you've continued to be an avid contributor to APMP. Do you have any memorable experiences other than that first one at Bid-In Proposal Con or any other related APMP events?
Yes, actually. The only reason I came to BidCon was to meet Howard in 2015 when he said that he wasn't feeling well. So just like 3 weeks before I lost my father, then I received a message they're saying Howard is not feeling well. Then I booked my ticket and I went to BidCon, mm-hmm. Boston. So for me, the first one is that one. So I was memorable standing in the stand with Howard, talking about BD Institute was really memorable. And the main reason being Howard also paid for my APMP conference fee, which is $1,000+, which is not.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So again, 2016, Howard did the same to me. So Howard funded it, and I stood on it, and that was memorable for me. New Orleans for multiple reasons. One, that was the very first time I picked up an off-topic in APMP, and I talked about something called "Sell You First." How good are you in selling yourself? You might be good in selling others. Fast forward in 2020, when I did my time blocking webinar, the 11 emails that I received, right? These 11 emails was actually written by people who attended the 2016. And they actually waited for me to do something like this for 5 years. So because they were waiting for that sort of things from me. But in between, New Orleans was really special because I stayed there for 10 days. And I visited like 28 pubs. At some point, New Orleans Advisor, my reviews was ranked as top 3. All the food, and I did all the activities. I even went and saw the supposedly there is a resting place that was created for Nicolas Cage, and then you have what's the name, Sandra Bullock's home. I just visited. And then all this stuff, then I did kayaking, I just went around. So it was beautiful. And in between, it's also memorable for another reason. Just on the last day before I left on the hotel charged me just because I did the checkout late for the next day. So I will never forget that because I then asked a homeless person to go and stay on my booking. So because if the hotel is going to charge me, what's the point? And they can't double book, right? And that homeless person then took a picture and sent it to me. I still have that picture and I'm still in touch with that person.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a multiple things. New Orleans was super special. One for Sell You First. Then that's the time I traveled across New Orleans. Then this kind of behavior of the hotel meant like I was able to help a homeless person just for a day, live in the place. And music, as you can see, amazing. New Orleans. I just stayed there all night listening to music. So yeah, it's brilliant. That was my most memorable BidCon.
You also, we talked about 3 books that you have. Can you tell us a little bit more about those and the inspiration behind those?
Yes, actually, as you know, I was listening to the APMP talk. As I mentioned, the first book, Bid Buddy, was the person who was the head cartoonist for one of the largest Indian animation thing. He did the cartoons. The Baachu has multiple characters. It's why Genie was created because of that. It's my face, but made it genie in the shape of hexagon, which is our brand. So we created that genie and then say, you know what, we will handhold you in this journey. You might feeling lonely on your own, but we are there with you. So we created the Bid Buddy journal, which is predominantly for bid and proposal professionals. So there is lots of tips inside and lots of cartoons inside, and but like any other journal, it has your daily goals. If predominantly time blocking 5 years ago, let's put that way.
Yeah.
That all the principles are there in that book. So we just published it, and anyone who's doing a self-development program, they can get it. So it's available in Amazon. It's like $15. We could make it cheap, but because of the colors, blue color, it's slightly expensive. That's the first one. Based on this, how can we make an undervalued, overworking workforce into happy, fulfilling workforce? That's the underlying theme behind Big Buddy.
Yeah.
The proposal specialist guide is actually came out. We want to create a self-study guide that, again, we try to solve a problem there. There are lots of people who want to do self-study, but they can't afford it because you pay $400, you pay $150 for membership, then you pay on top. What can we do? And the sales specialist guide, as I mentioned, I always said about full stack bidder, right? So I want to take all the sales concepts and make it a little bit simpler and to give it for bid and proposal people. So not just as a book, but with all the templates and all the other stuff that goes with, so they could implement it rather than to have just a concept book. That's a sales specialist book that we have done. So all three things, not because I want to do it, it's the thing that people asked me, and I just thought I'll do it. There's nothing to do with what I plan to, but in between, it's the same. It's the same thing as a scholarship, the same thing like the new initiative that we have done, Scribble at Home and other things. When you have a problem, you just step in to solve the problem. Don't wait for somebody else to solve the problem. So that's all the rationale behind the books. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And you kind of touched upon the Scribble scholarships just a minute ago. Can you share a little bit more about the history of that, and will the scholarships continue?
Yes, and simply, Tony Birch paid for my certification. Howard Nutt paid for my conference ticket. So which means, those two, they don't even know who I am, right? I was somebody. But for them to, give me an opportunity meant like I need to do something. And they have given so much. From the podcast, you would know that Howard Nutt was the founding member of APMP, and he even did the strategic planning in 1989, which is still being used overall. And Tony Birch is the brain behind our certification program and our foundation practitioner. For me, I just want to have the legacy. So in October, I was there for the APMP UK conference, and I thought I shouldn't wait any longer. It was just done on my journey back from the bus towards my home. I needed to do a scholarship. Within 3 weeks, I put together, and I launched it on October 21st, which is Rick Harris's birthday. So it's from my birthday to Rick Harris' birthday, and then we launched the scholarship. And we're pretty happy, we were able to support so many people around it through our scholarship. So I'm pretty blessed on that thing. So primarily that's the Scribble Scholarship. Will it continue? 100% it will continue, but not on the same way, because the touch point for me for Scribble Scholarship 2019 was we started APMP UK conference and we finished in APMP BPC. So that was a 4-month window, which was very long. We had Christmas. So this time we will do Scribble Scholarship, but much shorter, maybe 4-week window. For 5 stages, might be stripped to 3 stages challenge. And we'll continue. Again, the whole challenge was built on the Himalayan trip, as I mentioned. It's about a trekking thing. My passion came in. That's why you need to unlock one level to go to the next level, and the intensity increases as you go. And it was gamified. That will still continue. But in a much more shorter cycle, honoring Tony Howard, and you might also know Kathy Nick, who we interviewed, and Rick, we just launched it on his birthday. So because it was Rick's 60th birthday as well last year. So. Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely great timing, and the concept of the challenge was amazing, and so proud of all the participants who made it through, and the award winners.
And it's only through that I know you, Ashley. You kindly came over as a Scribble ambassador, and we had few more, big-hearted people who came in. And it's only because of you guys made it. We can reach people, and what can I do as a single person? And with my team, we can do something, but we need to have, big-hearted people, and that's it. And the journey from there, we are here. It's one step at a time. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Thank you for asking.
I think we're ready for Sam to take over with the surprise rapid fire questions.
Sure. So Baskar, you really made me sweat when you interviewed me over some of these. So hopefully I can give you a little bit of the same back. So are you ready?
Yeah, I just drank my water. I'm ready.
Okay. Okay. You asked me the same question, Baskar, do you have multiple personalities? And if so, who are they?
Yes, Sam. Because I think I touched some of it already, which means if you look at the career, one hat I've added as a UK, government advisor. I switch over and I record music. Suddenly I sit and talk about how to build a pipeline for facilities management. But what many people don't know is when I used to do Facebook Live 3-4 years ago, I used to have up to 7,000 people tuning into my Facebook Live.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
For my storytelling. And even for my friends used to invite me all the time because they just invite me. I'll just keep talking for 4 hours and telling them all the stories. I do thoroughly enjoy being a storyteller. But I do lots of pencil sketching, so that's another thing. What else? We already touched, I'm a foodie and I do fitness stuff. And I've done Tough Mudders, like 7 Tough Mudders. So go around different kind of this activity-based thing, slightly challenging thing, kind of keeps it going. But what I'm recently doing is just the connection of the root language. There should be that one language where humans spoke when they were coming out of the thing, right? And at the moment, world has shortlisted the 8 languages which could be the root language. And one of the languages is my native language, which is Tamil. And it could be ancient Egyptian, it could be Sumerian, it could be Chinese, it could be Greek, right? So one of the things is Tamil. So, and I'm curious how far it would go. So I'm doing research on the connection between Tamil and the Oriental countries. Like, many of the alphabets that we speak in Tamil, it's very similar to Korean. And many of the like arigato and others in Japanese is a Tamil word. And the root is a Tamil word.
Really? That is so interesting.
So I'm spending now, if I don't have anything to do, if I make enough, which I don't, I just don't because I do it by heart. So my passion is just to take Tamil and identified roots and connect it to different things. And I'm already there. So I'm part of a research team, small research team that's researching on the connection between Tamil to Oriental language like Japanese, Korean, and Chinese, which meant I know Japanese. And I can also speak to a certain extent Korean. So I'm trying to connect those dots now. So that's my other thing. And travel-wise, I've traveled to 60 countries. So that's another thing, which means, these multiple identities meant like in one day, I just wear different hats. And I just keep it going. So that's the multiple identities I want to.
Got it. I love it. You already have lots of different identities, but if you could be one famous sports star, either male or female, who would you be?
Usain Bolt.
That's a good one. Why would you be Usain?
It's not just about the run. If you look at the last few seconds before the run, you could clearly see, he will be very cool, listening to music, pointing his fingers up, talking about it. And the moment he's in the zone, he just goes. And even when he's running, he can really push, but he will push based on his competition. So he wouldn't sweat unless he needs to sweat. Right? So for me, that's it. And when I was young, I used to run as well. I used to run 100 meters, like 12.48 seconds or something. When I was young, I still remember that. So partly, I think Usain Bolt is my star.
Yeah, I hear you. How do you think your life would change if you did not need to sleep? It sounds like you have an awful lot of interests. So what would you do with all that extra time?
I sleep 4 to 6 hours a day already. So if I don't do that, obviously I would do 2 things. One is music, and the other one is this travel history that I talked about. Those are the 2 things which I do.
I think I might know the answer to this question already based on what you've told me so far, but I'll hold my guess and see if I was right. If you could either know all the languages in the world or know how to play all the instruments in the world, which one would you choose?
Sam, this is a tough one because both language and music are my thing. So if I need to go for it, because as I mentioned, for me, identity was always a question, especially when you go and live in a different country. There is always a question mark about your identity. So I would pick up language. I would pick up, I want to know all about the language so that I could really know more about why I speak what I speak. Why do I speak fast? And I always, because my root language is Tamil, which is spoken fast. So English is not my language. And until the age of 18, I stammer. I can only speak 7 or 8 words, so I need to do musical therapy to learn language. And it's only because I can speak a language. So I used to sing songs. I used to sing very songs that make people cry because those songs are very slow.
Yeah.
And then because of that, you pick the language, and because you can now pick up the language, you can speak. And it's all connected. So that's what I would say, language, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. That was my guess. So, all right. What's your favorite TV show of all time?
I don't watch TV that much, Sam, but I watch all the food preparation channels.
Yes.
That thing where if I'm hungry, I just watch somebody else making the food that I like. I won't eat. For me, that's the job done. I'm not full. So even when I'm stressed, when I'm not stressed, I just follow a lot of food channels, especially the channels where people travel and eat street foods and other things, right? They go to different cities, those are the things that I love. There are so many channels there. So those are the things which I watch all the time.
Got it. What food do you wish you knew how to cook that you don't know how to? And is there a food that you think that you cook better than anyone else?
Yeah, sushi.
True.
My wife doing sushi, I just thought, hey, what do? You just stick rice and you fold it with a kind of a seaweed, and that's his job done. But then my wife told me to become a sushi chef, you need to at least be trained for 7 years, even before they allow you to actually fold things. So that one, which sounds simple, which I thought I did, and I miserably failed, and now I'm not even allowed to do it. The second one is what I'm really known for is the expectations, because I've spent my first 2 years of my job life in KFC. People tend to think that I know the secret recipe of
Do you know the secret recipe?
So I think the only thing that differs from, other than salt, pepper, other standard flour and other things, the only thing is they add a mix of herbs, which is a kind of a packet that you added, Sam. So coming from an Indian background, the amount of spices that we add, right? So we can make we have a better KFC that you can do. So definitely fried version of chicken is good. And the other one, it's a Spanish paella. That's my favorite. So I can cook for like 30 people. I take it very personal. I can cooking like multi-forms, like in a different parts of Spain makes paella differently. Some put chorizo, some doesn't put chorizo, some put chicken, some doesn't put chicken, some puts seafood, some doesn't. So I just try the different versions of paella, and I thoroughly enjoy paella.
If you could have complete knowledge of any 5 things, what would you want to know?
The first thing I would like to know that is the addiction behind Lego, because I don't understand my children at all. I mean, like they can spend the whole day, 24 hours, just doing Lego. But for me, the fascination behind Lego is definitely I would like to know.
Okay.
It got to a point where my son is recording his own Lego now, and he wants to make a YouTube channel out of it. Believe it or not. So that's one.
Okay.
The second one, I think I already touched about the language. I mean, like I want to go back to really know, if Tamil is one of the oldest language, how far does it go back? That's the other one.
Yeah.
And the third one is, I think you know the answer already. It's what fascinates me is, today when I listen to classical music that was done like 350 years ago in 1700s, I don't think, it's whatever that's been done in the past 50 years or 100 years, it's at any level that's been done like 350 years.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I just want to understand maybe understand how that was done.
Yeah.
Those sort of things. Today we talk about people traveling, from different places to the others. But if, like thousands of years, we know, like, even though people say India was founded in 1498 by Vasco da Gama, they have a second century BC, even the second century AD Roman coins in my place. And they also found lots of South Indian coins in Greece. That was 500 BC. So for me, how is that possible? The navigation methods and stuff that they used to go there. Those are the four things. Oh my God, fifth is a stretch actually. Maybe because of my Buddhism angle, I would say, is to more understand about the mind actually.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I do what I'm doing? Why? So those are the 4 or 5 things I would say, Sam. Yeah.
Okay. You had mentioned travel. When you go on a trip, what's the first thing you do when you get home?
My boys used to say her mom is pink and I am black. So my eldest is called Little Pink. And my youngest is called Little Bum.
Aww.
The moment I enter home, I call Little Pink and Little Bum, and they both will rush towards me. Yeah, awake. That's the first thing I do. And if they're not there, I still scream. But they're not there. Well, that's the first thing I do, regardless of whether sometimes I do use common sense when it's like 10:30 or 11 in the night when they're sleeping. But if I do turn up, wherever I go, I just come back, and that's the first thing I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there one thing, if you were taking a trip anywhere in the world, is there one thing that you always have to have with you that you would not leave home without?
Travel is like a meditation for me. So when the tram or the train goes up, like for me, it's like, that's like a sound. So for me, if I'm traveling, I need to have music or earphone or something with me. That's first one. Or if I don't do it, I need to listen to some sound. I cannot. It's a very weird thing. Silence freaks me out.
Yeah.
So you would see me sometimes even wearing earphones, but I won't even be listening to music. People will ask, "Are you on a phone?" I'm like, "No." "Are you listening to something?" "No." Then why the hell are you actually using the earphone? Because it just gives me that false assurance that there is sound.
Yeah.
So music is the thing. Yeah.
You may have talked about this before when we're talking about your trip to New Orleans, but is there a random stranger you have encountered in your life that you might say has had a really big impact on you?
Stranger. I have a friend called Jeff Moore. Jeff is from Australia. So as I mentioned, when I was telling you, right, so around April 2014, I took redundancy. 2 weeks later, my father was diagnosed. So I was traveling on and off to India. So at that point, it was very tough because neither here I was with my family because my youngest was 9 months, the eldest was 1.5 years, and I didn't have a job. And my father was diagnosed with cancer back in India. So I was traveling on and off. I was neither playing a role as a son, nor playing a role as a father, nor as a husband. So, so then there was this free seminar that was about coding. I was there standing in for that. Then suddenly Jeff came, who was also there, and we talked about it. We had a pint or two. Then Jeff gave me a 500-pound ticket to Tony Robbins' event. A random guy. I've never met him before. As you can imagine, you know Tony Robbins, right? I'm sure most of you know.
I know he's kind of a motivational speaker. I don't know if that's the right way to put it.
Yes, 4 days. What he gave me, and today with whatever the struggles that we do, with COVID crisis or the issues that we're facing, etc. That random guy whom I don't even know, who just set me up for my own growth. Today I'm talking about time blocking or self-development, and people are listening to me. He's that one person, Sam, that I still keep in touch and I still speak to him. But from nobody, he became a very special friend, and he's one random guy who just came into my life, and now he's part of my life. Yeah.
Got it. Baskar, you've written a bunch of proposal-related books, but if you had to write a book about yourself, what would you name it?
I actually wrote a book, and I didn't save it because it got lost in my previous laptop. The book was titled "Walking Without Slippers."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like how one man's dream. It's now helping like 230 children and maybe more. It's a story that starts about my father, and it touches me, and it touches kind of what I was doing. So that might kind of an autobiography. It just started like that. So picking up some moments of my life, and I started with. I'm still gutted that I lost it. I couldn't recover it, but I think I might need to do that. So that will be the title of it. Yeah, Walking Without Slippers.
Got it. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Tell us a unique or quirky habit that you have.
So I can swing away from no sound to sound. Completely opposite. I cannot take something in between. So I go and meditate in proper forest. I go sit down in a tree, and I just sit there. And that's it. I don't think anything else. So on that perspective, the sound, I still hear the sound of nature. So I travel, find the forests here and there, and I just sit down, find a tree, and I just sit down. So on one end, I have this quirky habit of music, walking with earphones without even anything. On the other side, I flip all the way and find a tree. When I look at a tree, when the tree goes up, I try to think like, oh, the tree is talking to me. Maybe I need to sit down. So,
have you ever thought about getting a tattoo? And if so, if you were going to get one, what would you get, and where would it be?
I want, bull, the bull with two big horns.
Yeah.
I want to cover my entire back with a picture of a bull with the two horns just on my shoulders, just pointing on my hand. And sometimes when I do the push-up or press-up and I look at my back, it looks empty. Then I thought, what? Bull is a symbol of Tamil kind of strength. So I thought maybe I should do that. But, then people told me about the painful thing of even putting an yes in your thing with a tattoo pains a lot. Putting an entire bull in your back meant like I need to be sedated.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of what holds me back too. But that does sound like that would be great. I like that image.
But the challenge with my body skin tone in brown, I don't think anybody can actually know that I have a tattoo. That's sort of the main reason why I'm not even bothering now.
Well, I endorse it if you ever decide to move forward. You've talked about a lot of this already, but is there anybody who you would say has been the most influential in your life and career, or anybody who you haven't mentioned so far you want to give a shout out to?
I think I was brought up by females, Sam. My mom, because my father, he went at age 7. So by the time he came back to India, I was already in UK, which means the time that I spent with my father to get to know about him was only on the last 6 months when he was dying. So I still managed to do that, shared everything about him. That's whatever I shared is the times. I was lucky on the thing. But in between, it's all about my mom, my sister, and my wife. So I've been surrounded by strong women in my life. I was brought up by pretty much like a single mom. My mom was there, giving me whatever I wanted to do. It's a lot of challenge. So she needs to go through when I married a non-Indian girl, the cultural barrier she need to go through. People complain. Yeah. If my father was around, this would not have happened. This would happen when you kind of bring up on your own. My mom kind of stood there, and my sister, she's a rock for my family. She does everything. And my wife, after the KFC job, the interview that I went for this H1, I didn't even have the money. At that point, my girlfriend then, Junko, now my wife, she booked the train ticket for me to go for the interview. All the way to now, she hardly got anything out of it. Whatever I'm thoroughly enjoying. Is Junko being a very simple girl. She doesn't want me to run my company or do such a stable job. Go for the job, get the salary, get anything out of it. But she's still sticking with me, doing whatever I'm doing. So those three people are absolute rock in my life. And then as I talked about, my team, specifically, they work 12 to 18 hours. For 3 years, they didn't get a salary, Sam. So they were just working just because of my passion. Every year I ask them, what do you want to achieve in life? They always say, whatever you want to achieve is what we want to achieve. Their only goal is to see my goal succeed. So, without my team, I'm nobody. And also the likes of Howard and Tony, there are so many colleagues. And Serco, which is the company that gave me everything. That was my family. Family. That's about it. And now with my gym friends and now you guys, with Scribble Scholarships, now Scribble Talk, all the friends that I'm making. So what I'm influenced by is people who are in my life and, or my relationships. And sometimes I do record. I look into my own written papers, which I wrote when I was 21 or 23. And I'm grateful for the person who was 16 years ago, like 20 years of me.
Yeah.
That boy had that dream to do whatever. And thank God, 2014, I took voluntary redundancy. And today I'm at least getting to that little boy that I always wanted to be. So that's it. It's like my three girls, my wife, my mom, my sister, and now you two, my father. And others in between, as you know, I went through a lot. When you try to do things differently, there are so many people who kind of complain about what you're doing. You kind of go through that. You won't need to call them enemies, but let's call people who inspire you, who want you to fail. Everybody, to be honest, that's it. Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and who did it come from?
The very first advice is I tend to listen to my younger son a lot. He's kind of my coach in my family. So he always tell me, Dad, why don't you listen? For me, that's really stuck to me. So I always tell people, if you listen, you can learn something new. But if you speak, you are only going to speak what you know. For me, at that point where I always look into him, let's say, what did Daddy do? I always ask him before he sleeps at night, did Daddy do anything wrong today? Or what did Daddy do today? He just pretty much rips me apart from... You won't do his homework. My wife will be screaming all the time around. He will clearly say, do you remember just before lunch, Mommy told you not to sing that song which she hates, but you sang that song. For me, that's one thing that's important. And the other thing is, I learned this quote, which was very profound, which I always use it, which is like, the perception of me is a reflection on you. And my response to you is based on awareness on me, which means whatever you perceive on me, I don't need to stand and justify it. No, you are thinking me wrong. The way you perceive the person is the way you perceive yourself. That thing is really calmed me down, because as you know, when you're brought up by three strong females, you tend to be slightly emotional. And I don't always get upset when somebody say, hard things about me. I go cry. So this kind of calmed down me. So one thing is, why don't you listen? The other thing is the perception on you is a reflection on me. And my response to you is based on awareness on me. Those are the two things, which is quite important.
I like that. It's funny you said that about your getting great advice from your smallest child. My youngest daughter, just a couple of days ago, was like, I was, doing something on my cell phone, and my mom, and she's like, Mom, I wish your phone could just stay at the office when you leave, so that you don't have to do, work stuff when you're home. And that just hit me so hard, because most of the time I don't actually have to do work stuff at home. I'm just looking at my phone and checking email and stuff throughout the evening, just because I can, and just because you get used to doing it. So thinking about that, I thought that was one of the best pieces of advice I'd gotten lately. And it came from somebody who's 10 years old.
100%, Sam. I think sometimes when people ask you about who motivates you, who inspires you, it's not like Barack Obama or Martin Luther King or, you name it. Yes, they are inspirational, but you need to get it from somebody who knows you. And that's much more powerful.
You were talking about just a couple minutes ago, looking at other people and understanding that your perception of them, is also a reflection of yourself. What's something that you've noticed lately that just reminded you in general that people are good?
Yes, Sam. I think, as you know, I specialize in UK facilities management, which is the industry that has cleaners, the people who maintain the building, the security staff, and others. Really specialize in that. So, in UK, yes, we talk about NHS people, people who work for healthcare services, care workers. We clap for them, we kind of celebrate for them. But these cleaners and these caterers who provide food, they are not forced to work, but they still went and did the work, and they are the lowest paid people, like $10 or £10 an hour. And in the past 6 weeks, over 50 plus cleaners have died. And even the cleaner whom I know, who used to work in a commercial building, has gone to work for a healthcare trust to give handhold thing, to help with this, the care workers and others to deliver the job. But for me, that really moved me. It's just like, hey, you know what? Hey, you're not paid to do this job, and you're paid really low, and you're still standing there helping the community, helping the country, and nobody will even, and you see lots of thank you messages now coming across from the industry saying, thank you to this cleaner, thank you to that caterer, thank you to the guy who fixed the ventilator in the shortest span of time, thank you to this construction worker who just built 7,000 beds in like 3 weeks kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Today, these guys are telling us what's important in life and standing courageously. They know clearly, their family is not covered. They're not big, rich people, but they still every day in and day out doing this for me. And that really inspired me. That's what 13th of May, 12 o'clock UK time, we are raising candles for these fallen heroes. So that's what really moved me. Yeah.
So what is one thing that you wish you had known when you began your career?
I think it's like, take more control of your life so that your life doesn't control you. I didn't spend much time at the wedding. Then I missed my eldest son's birth. I was working. He was born in Japan, like 2 weeks early he came out, and I planned to go 10 days early. So I missed my eldest birth.
Oh, no.
Then I also missed my father's death. So how pathetic is my life, right? So you 3 big occasions. Today, whatever success here it is, it's because by the time I landed, 2 days before, you call the hospital and say, he won't last, so pull the ventilator off. You just pull, the doctor says, no, he will last for 5 days. So I just booked the ticket. We all are going, expecting that we could be with my father 2 days before. But by the time I landed in my local airport, I called my sister. She cried. Father passed away 2 hours ago. Which means I left my life to control it. Maybe I should have taken it into my control, to make the decisions that I wouldn't regret. Because I always tell my wife, let's get married again. But she is like, I can't have you all the time, and I can't expect, let's have one more baby so that I won't miss her. Now that's not what happened. And I can't have my daddy again, So it's that's an interesting. That's a very profound thing, take control of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many of us will be reminded of that, and hopefully that can help us to make decisions moving forward. And I know you take that into consideration now. So sometimes we learn it too late, but it's a great message for everyone. So on a similar note, what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a successful kind of proposal career, a successful strategy career, maybe a career similar to yours?
I think people need to be comfortable selling themselves, Ashley. We are very good in, writing a proposal or, framing up what good for others. But you know what, you just need to sell, and as you always say, sell yourself first. Set some goals, try to sell yourselves internally and sell it outside. Because if you wait for things to happen, like a compelling event, like what happened to me, my redundancy or my father's passed away or something, that kinds of have a grip. Yes, I'm still 39. I'm working through that. But if you don't have that thing, you have to build it yourself. That's what I would say. Whatever you decide to do, sell yourself first and just take the first step. It will happen, because I always believe nature, once you take the first step, nature will find its way. Nature will give you, if you know what you're asking for. It could be the random stranger, it could be Howard, it could be Tony, or it could be you too now taking the book. It will happen. It will happen for you unless you decide, sell yourself first and take that first step. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, and something we should all just keep in mind and be able to do, and that will help us get to where we want to be. So the last question we have for you, Baskar, is what's next for you? You've done so much, you've achieved so many things, you're helping so many people, but what exactly is next?
If you split it into like 3 parts, actually, number one is, as an entrepreneur level, I just need to ensure that my company sustains and come out of the COVID crisis immediately. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second one is, it's a personal thing. I have to somehow find my way to do the things that I want to do, which is the language stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. And the third one is more or less, to keep the relationship that I currently have, and then maybe build more relationships, because I might be talking like this, but like many of our guests, I'm a super introvert myself. All I do is, and I go to BitCon, speak to 5 people, and I come back and keep in touch with 5 people. So for me, that 5 people, I just want to be on the moment, share the rest of the life with that 5 people. So for me, I continue to, somewhere or the other, maneuver the company to come out of the crisis, to find my way to get into that real thing that I wanted to do, which is like that history of the language. And the third one is, to be with the moment, to continue to build relationships, and to be with those relationships. Actually, those are the 3 things I would say. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Amazing aspirations. I know you'll achieve all of them.
Thank you, Ashley.
So Baskar, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real privilege to have you on the other side here at the Scribble Talk today. Been really great interviewing you and hearing your story. We wish you all the good health and happiness, and we want you to continue to inspire bid and proposal industry colleagues, your family, everyone around you. Please do stay safe and healthy and happy, and looking forward to more podcasts with you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you so much for taking the time to ask me the questions that I normally ask others. It wasn't easy. Believe me, I have all the respect for our guest now. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining us on this. It means a lot to me and Ashley for you to join us on our own show and ask me the questions. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome. It was a lot of fun.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit bachuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Baskar Sundaram,
signing off.